Repairs Corporation in the amount of $919,496 to complete the Bixby P25 OpenSky police and fire radio project. Chief?
Mayor and Council, we'd like to bring this to you for your consideration and approval. As you know, we started about a year and a half or so ago looking at our radio systems. Matter of fact, Councilman Armill has been gracious to look into it and give us some directions also in regards to the radio system. We'd like to move forward on this, as we originally looked at trying to take over a 3, 4, 5 year period and do a little bit at a time. We'd like to expedite the work so we can actually put the system in place due to the fact, one, Harris Communications worked with us to reduce the cost
Well, it's a lot of money, but it's like we either do it now or do it later. It gets more expensive.
Communications for public safety. We made the move roughly 2 years ago over preparing for our public safety folks. And P25 is a national standard. It was the feds basically created this standard to make it where public safety can communicate, regardless of infrastructure, manufacturer, or however you want to look at it. Does it work? Absolutely. We've been testing it thoroughly with the state of Oklahoma. We have an interface that we put in with UASC funding that actually allows the networks to communicate at the internet protocol level. A prime example is during the Moore incident where we had the tornadoes. I was actually listening to public safety down there in Moore from my house in Coyle. Something we've never been able to do. So interoperability is the name of the game. You've got to be able to communicate with your neighbors. People don't have the same systems. It's not going to happen. P25 was put in for a reason. We have all the security of OpenSky and the other protocols in place to make this a very secure system. We have to look out for the interest of our public safety folks out here to make sure that the bad guys aren't monitoring what they're doing. I think it's a good move. We've had a great part. City of Bixby. That was the first one we did. It has been a very quiet partnership. That's the way it's supposed to be. And we take care of each other. Bixby has been very supportive to Broken Arrow as we move forward, and have assisted us in projects as well. With when we talked to the police chief and other representatives with police and fire. I think that our last partner's going to move is James will probably be right behind you all. We're moving our public works over Broken Arrow off EDAX after July because it is the system is at end of life. It went end of life at the as the core level that we own over at Broken Arrow roughly 2 to 3 years ago. So parts aren't available. We're keeping it together as much as we can, but we hope that it sits there and runs, but we don't move in that position. So we sat down roughly a couple of years ago and started talking to our partners saying, look, this is what's coming, we've got to do something. And we've kind of progressed it along a little bit because Harris has been very aggressive in their pricing. They're helping us with public works. Mine was going to be a 3-year stint to move them, but we're going to move them after July. It's going to be a good deal for everybody.
Mark, the way technology is moving, and we all see it every day in our lives with computers and everything else. You think this P25 system will have a future, long-term, to where you can, it's not every 5, 10 years we're going to come out and have to.
Yeah, it's where you're going to have to spend millions of dollars to keep moving forward. The whole concept around P25 and what Harris does as an organization is to be able to progress for the future. We're already looking at what can future and what Harris is heading, progressing to and showing us some of the technology. The idea of a system in P25 and OpenSky and the core that we've spent a couple $1 million on is to be able to go into the future. With EDAX, we kind of went that way as well. We were able to migrate into this new core. I'm still supporting the old one, and they're tied together actually, which is a lot of companies that are out here don't give you that option. There's no backwards compatibility. Where's the future headed? We'll all be around to see, I guess. But I can see this system, EDAX is around 30 years. I can see 50+ years. That P25 standard is going to be there. There's going to be other things that are going to come along. But we will see Harris following the path of their military background and everything, where we can migrate and we can interact with, where I can support this 30-year-old technology with 2013 standards that I'm running today. So I foresee it taking us well, hopefully I'll retire before it progresses.
So is there any other company besides Harris that does this, that interact with you guys and other?
There's other manufacturers that do the P25 standard. There's other, Motorola's or wherever out there that are doing the standard as well. The state of Oklahoma, since we adopted P25 and put the first one in for public safety in Broken Arrow, I sat down and had lunch with the state of Oklahoma, and they are going that direction now. Now, the thing is they've got money invested in the Motorola infrastructure, so they're stuck. They've got to stay there. They can't just up and change and forklift for $100-something million to go that route. They are moving. Muskogee today has 2 sites of P25 Motorola. So does Tahlequah and so does Gore. I worked out a deal with the state that they try to migrate the state of Oklahoma first, so I can have our users have interoperability. Or if we have an incident, an unfortunate incident where a tornado hits and I need assistance, or one of our neighbors does, where we can all come together and communicate regardless of the radio. But if there are plenty of manufacturers out there doing this. Where you get into the big costs is when you have to buy that core technology. You've got to have that infrastructure. We paid just shy of $2 million for basically the infrastructure alone. So we did like EDAX, back in 2001, 2, or whenever it was, to where you, as a city, get to save a lot of money because you don't have to buy a core. Also, you don't have to pay the maintenance cost. We take care of everything on our end. We take care of the core, and we support our neighbors. So you're helping us too, because you're building infrastructure as far as radio sites. It helps my users. I'm able to use your site, you use our sites. Our Wagner County system, which is $3.2 million, will be in testing next week. All Bixby users have access to those sites as well. That's the way we work as neighbors. I started it, I was kind of told I was a little crazy for doing it the way I'm doing it, but it works because I don't impose policy on my neighbors because we all do business different. So the best thing we do is I stay neutral and we come together as cities, as groups and organizations with public safety and decide how this is going to work. We're seeing other cities, states adopting this policy. It does work. It's you could go with a different technology. You're going to pay probably 3 times the cost, to be honest with you.
So if we want somebody like Motorola, you're saying it's going to be more money?
Oh, you wouldn't be able to tie it into my network. I've got a Harris core.
Okay, but then you said state of Oklahoma has Motorola.
Yep.
Can you tie in the state of Oklahoma?
You could. Can I tie in?
Uh-huh.
With the IS inter-subsystem interface, we are tied in today. We use UASC funding. I spent roughly about $1 million to do this, and I've actually can take my radio and talk to a state user now, even though he's on the Motorola system. There was no money had to come out of any of our agencies. The working group and UASC adopted the direction we wanted to go, and now we, as users, our core is tied into the state's core, so we can communicate together.
So if the city went with this system, we're going to spend more money to talk to the state?
No, it's already in place.
Because we're going to be talking to their core.
Yep.
It's just an awful lot of money, and I'm just wondering how we can do this without bids from other companies. That's all I'm looking at. I mean, we've got a big procurement proposal in front of us coming up, but aren't we supposed to get bids for something this big? Or?
This is a change order.
Oh, this
is contract.
I move that we approve item number 5, contingent upon the lease purchase being approved at the next council meeting.
I'll second.
Yvonne?
Totorow.
Yes.
Loudmout.
Yes.
Easton.
Yeah.
Guthrie.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes.